Today, we're talking about everything audition related. This technique, it changed everything for me. I booked a co-star role in an Apple TV series because of it. I also booked a major studio film because of it. And I'm gonna tell you guys this technique today. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you get notified every time I upload a video and give you more acting related advice. I think there are a lot of myths out there about auditioning, self-tapes, techniques, everything. And today we're breaking everything down. So let's say you just got an audition. Amazing job, by the way. You're already doing better than 99% of actors out there. This might be obvious, but the first thing that you need to do is read the script in its entirety, because there will be a lot of hints in the scripts about everything. Tone, location, time. It's really gonna be your guide throughout the audition. Read the sides as many times as possible, because there's a big chance that every time you read them, you're gonna pick up on something new that you didn't notice before. Read the entire casting notice. It's gonna tell you if this is a feature or short film, TV movie, TV series, the rate, the location, character description. By the time you're done with reading all of the material, you should have a pretty good understanding of who you are as a person, the time, the location, the era. So now we're gonna get into the audition itself. A lot of the time, casting tells you that you don't need to be off book for an audition, and obviously if you have a lot of auditions lined up, you're not gonna be able to memorize everything. So that's when you prioritize, but usually I try to be off book just because it helps me, because I don't want to keep looking down at the paper and lose the momentum. So my suggestion would be learn the lines to the best of your knowledge. And it's also going to help you in the long run, because your memory is like a muscle, and the more you train it, the better it's going to be. Okay, so once you have the lines down, let's talk about your setup. I don't think you need a fancy setup. To be honest, I've gotten a studio feature and a co-star role in an Apple TV series with no professional setup. But I've also gotten many roles with a professional setup. So your performance is so much more important. Obviously, it's nice to have a good setup just because you might have some things going on in the background. The layout of your audition should also be kind of similar to how I'm sitting right now. There's a tiny bit of space above my head, and you can see all my expressions, my face. I'm well lit. This is so important. You need to be lit from the front. Never do an audition with a window behind you. They need to see you. They need to see your eyes, your expressions. Natural light is the best, but it's good to have professional lights as a backup, because sometimes you're gonna get an audition at 8 p.m. and there's not gonna be any natural light. And you're gonna have to use either a ring light or soft boxes. I have 2 soft boxes. And don't be scared to move around in your audition. It doesn't need to be super static. Not saying that you should go crazy with the movements if it's not necessary, but sometimes you're getting auditions that are super physical. You need to have multiple eye lines for multiple people. In any scene that you do, you should think about how many people are in the scene with you. So let's say you're talking to someone. This is usually how I look. I'm using an iPhone and I'm looking at the red recording button when I'm talking to my main person. However, let's say there are 2 people in the room. So I'm gonna have my main person over here, but then I'm gonna also talk to you. And let's say there's a 3rd person in the room. I'm going to talk to them as well. Same goes with, let's say you're a teacher and you're talking to a room of students. You're not going to look into one direction the whole time because you're talking to a room of people. So you might be like, what is your opinion? Okay, so what about you, AJ? What happened with you? So seeing the room and the people that you're with, the location that you're in, your eye line is going to be different if you're talking to an adult and if you're talking to a kid. So let's say you're talking to your sister and then her kid walks by and you're going to be like, oh, hi, if this is a small child. Obviously. It's also very important to know where everything is taking place. Is this your home? Are you in a cafe? Are you doing a lecture? Like, there are so many elements that you should think about, because if you're having an argument in public, that's going to be very different from having an argument in your home, right? One advice that changed my life is thinking about the moment before. As your audition starts, you never just exist. You're always doing something, right? If you think about it, even just starting an audition by you thinking, let's say you're at home, you're not gonna just sit around. You're gonna be thinking. The wheels are turning in your head. They will be able to see that. I'm gonna give you guys an example of what I mean. Let's say the sides that you received are about this meet cute with this guy. You're in a cafe and you just start talking to this guy. Instead of jumping straight into the scene and just be like, hey, instead, isn't it more powerful to just have a moment of maybe you're reading a book? And as you're reading the book, reading, and eventually I noticed that there's a guy that I really like, okay? I might, without words, like I haven't even started the script yet, I might just look over every once in a while and just like, notice that he's there. And eventually I'm going to have a thought of, you know what? I want to talk to this guy. So I'm going to, close my book and walk over to him, and that's how the scene starts. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about not just jumping straight into the scene, but like having a thoughtful beginning. Maybe the script doesn't say that you're reading, but you can always add that as an extra in the beginning because it's not going to be distracting and it's actually adding to your character. So why not? And just generally thinking about your character. Who is this person? Is she usually the type of person who would ask a guy out? Is this her first time? Is she shy? Is she flirty? There are so many things to think about to give color to your audition. Those things are going to elevate your self-tape audition. Silence is also going to be your friend, but there's a start, a middle, and an end point to every single self-tape. It's not just, okay, I'm going to walk off. And I'm not saying that you should premeditate your self-tapes because that's actually the worst that you can do. Flirt with someone, and this is what I'm gonna do when I'm like delivering that line because that's gonna come off as disingenuous. Instead, you can have good ideas, but let's see if that comes up in the moment. Being in the moment is the most important thing because you might think that you're gonna burst out laughing at one point in your audition, but if that doesn't really happen in the moment, it's just gonna come off as fake, so don't do that. I think it's also important to not take stage directions super seriously. I actually ignore them most of the time because I don't want to premeditate where I'm going to do certain things. Obviously, there are moments where the director is going to want you to do something at a certain point, but that's going to happen on set. Being a natural, easy person in the audition is the best thing that you can do. I'm sure you've heard this many, many times, but reaction is also very important. As someone's speaking to you, you're gonna react naturally. You sit down with your best friend and they're telling you about this guy who's a huge red flag, you're gonna react. And the same applies to an audition. When someone's talking to you, if they want to resolve a conflict with you, if they tell you about their day, any kind of social interaction is gonna have a person talking and a person reacting. So what helps me is to really listen to what they're saying, even though I've heard it many times because this is my 5th recording of this audition, so I know the lines are coming, but try to forget everything that happened before, and every single take is a new opportunity, and just try to listen to what they're saying and what they're telling you, and then think about how that makes you feel. The camera magnifies everything. In a normal, everyday interaction, you might not have huge reactions, Make sure that your reactions are appropriate to the moment, because there are certain moments when you're gonna have a huge reaction, but it's all about the context. If it makes sense in the context, it's gonna make sense on camera. If it doesn't make sense and it's disingenuous, the camera is gonna be able to see that and they're not gonna like your audition. Let's talk about readers. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter if your reader is a woman or a man. The only thing that matters is that they're good. So even though the sides might call for a guy, you don't have to record with a man. You can just record with a woman. The casting is gonna be able to figure out that you didn't have a male reader, and that's totally fine. It doesn't matter. Obviously, it's nice to have a good reader who understands the scene, maybe a fellow actor, or just someone who can sound natural in whatever setting you have to be in. Your performance means so much more than the reader. Okay, let's talk a little bit about crying. In real life, when you need to cry, you're trying to hold back those tears. It's unlikely that you're really gonna lean into the crying. Most of the time when the emotions catch you, it catches you off guard. So you want to pretend that everything is okay. That's just how we are as people. So I feel like a big misconception about crying on camera is that it needs to be big and dramatic, whereas I feel like less is more. Big emotions have a place and a time, and unless the context allows you to go there. It's much better to play it subtle, play it like a normal human being. You might just be completely silent, and that can be so powerful as well. Not trying to play the obvious is what I'm trying to say. If the script says angry, there are so many ways you can play an angry person. If it says you're disappointed, there are so many ways you can play disappointed. Don't go for the obvious route. When thinking about a character, there are certain questions worth thinking about, like background, family situation, financial situation, work, period of time we're in. Are we in the future? Are we in the present? Are we in the past? Relationships to other people. If you guys want to see a separate video about working on a character's background, I would love to do that. So let me know in the comments. But yeah, there are so many ways to add a little bit of extra to your audition so it stands out more. I have so much more to share on this topic, but I'm gonna end this video here. Let me know if you guys would like to see a part 2, because again, I can talk about this forever. I'm so passionate about acting and my job that I would love to help anyone out. My last advice is just to have fun, you know? Acting is a really tough industry, and it's easy to forget that this is supposed to be fun. So when you're doing a lot of auditions and you're not hearing back, obviously you're gonna feel a certain way about it. So what helps me is just to think about the fact that I get to be this person for 2 hours today and how fun that is, and just kind of have that mentality over, oh no, I have to do another audition that I'm probably not gonna hear back from. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe so you get notified every time I upload a video. And thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!